Okay, guys, so I just got some drone footage here, and it's going to teach you guys how to take screenshots of your Premiere Pro video footage. So, say there's something in your movie in particular that was a cool shot that kind of you want to use to blend into your movie poster, then this is how you would do it. Yeah, you probably get the image off internet, but sometimes it's better if you have a specific shot that you want to grab it from the actual timeline. You can grab it this way. So I have an icon here that has export frame. If you don't have it, guys, right click on, or sorry, not right click, add. See this little button editor? See that there? And you can add other things to your interface that are useful. I find a really cool edit point. I don't know why they don't default this, but the go to the next edit point, previous up and down. And if you want to, guys, if you don't have it, click and drag it into your interface, and voila, it'll be there. Obviously, I don't need this one because I already have it. But yeah, if you want to make a comment or closed caption on something on your timeline, some cool features. I like this go to next exit edit. It's a really good feature. Okay, so if you don't have these things, maybe include them. The go to point, it goes right into your next cut, your previous cuts. If you want to go right in between and find a specific point. All right, so say Anchetta here. I find this creepy and it's pretty cool for my movie poster. I'm going to take a snapshot. Make sure you put it where you want it to. So in this case, guys, your last name, first name, CPT folder. I'm going to put it in the drone footage just for now. I'm going to press choose. And it'll just name it based on the number. If you want to change it, then you can change it, but it doesn't really matter for me. If you want a higher resolution, use TIFF, but JPEG should suffice. Press OK. All right. So if you're doing a collage of images for your movie poster, and there's different styles, maybe just use one image or maybe use a combination. And technically, you don't even need to actually put an image. Maybe you have a different art direction in regards to how you're gonna target your target audience to watch your trailer. Okay. Now, keep on doing this. Is there a collage of shots you might want to bring in? Say this one right here. Luciano. Let's go frame by frame. Yes, that's an awesome shot right there. Let's snap that. Okay. Now, for those of you who weren't here yesterday, let's see the students who were here yesterday remember the sizes that you can use for your movie poster. Giuliano. 36 by Jacob. 18 by 24. Yes. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know how to do this, you go to File, New, and depending on your situation, and Murray, I use you as a reference because yours was done in SD and 480. Maybe you want to go 18 by 24, but you could still get away with Sierra. You can still get away with 24 by 36. Okay. So I would go to preset, go to US paper. Now, these are typical sizes, but we're going to override this. So if you want to go 18 by 24, you're going to go 18 wide by 24 high. Leave it 300 because that is the print resolution standard. And whether you want it transparent or white, it doesn't matter. I'm going to leave it white just to see. Some people make mistakes and leave it white, and I'll show you how to fix that. Okay. File, New. The other side, you would go 24 wide by 36 high. And I'll do this transparent. Okay. Now, I didn't save it, and I do that afterwards. If for some reason you wanted the background to be transparent or different, it's not a big deal. Add a new layer. Click that layer and throw it in the garbage can. See the little garbage can icon there? And it's gone. Okay. You could also, let me go Command Z, go back a step, throw it into the garbage can as well. And then you have transparency. If you want a different color background, and it works for both ways, easiest way to do this is to go to Edit, Fill. On a separate layer, you have color, you have black or white or gray. Now if I pick black, it'll just make it all black. Okay. If I wanted to fill it a color, I click a color, and a dialog box will pop up. And you can pick and choose the array of colors, saturations. Press OK, and voila. Over here, guys, you have your fill and background colors. So right now, I have this magenta color and white. If I double click it, I can change that color as well. So when you go to Edit and Fill, you have an option for the foreground color, and that's the color that you have here. Okay, so many ways to fill different backgrounds. Some students ask me about gradients because they want to do a cool gradient, right? Add a new layer. I'll just eyeball and hide this off so you don't see that brownish color. So I'm on layer 2 right now. There is a very cool gradient tool here. Do you guys see that? Looks like that. There's some presets, and by default, the first one right here is going to be your foreground and background color. Okay. So if you want to change that, change this first, and then you can apply a gradient. There's also foreground color to transparency. Okay, and then some other preset colors here. Now, when I click and drag, and I'll do a diagonal, it'll take my foreground color to my background color and distribute it across. Okay. What if you want to do multiple gradient colors? Well, not a problem. Click on that dialog box, and what's cool about this is anywhere on this line here, if you click once and double click on that box, you can pick and choose a different color. So you continue doing this, and you can create a rainbow of colors within that gradient. Are you guys seeing this? Okay. What's cool about this too is you can switch them around. So you can put that color there, and you can also play with the distance between the two colors. You can also play with the transparency with it. Okay, so if I click on this and play with the opacity. So on top, the top plays with opacity. I can say this is 50% opacity. So it'll actually fade through. So top is your opacity and the bottom is your color. And 75, and it'll be less, more. Okay. I'll add a new layer and I'll apply this gradient. And guys, the way you click and drag dictates also the gradient. Okay. Let's hide that. So technically that's my gradient over top. If I had an image below, you would see through it because it's transparent. Okay. There are different modes. And let me just demonstrate this by using a different layer. If I click and drag, it'll go from the center out. Okay. And play around with it. And there's different ways of doing gradients and styles, and it's something you might want to consider for your background. Okay, so bringing images in from Premiere. So we had Premiere, we exported them. I'm going to go Photoshop. The best thing to do, guys, is to open them up in a separate dialog box and then bring them into your collage. Okay, so I'm going to go File, Open, and my desktop, footage, and there's my still images. So just know where you put your still images in. Okay, so with Photoshop, guys, masking. There are different masking tools. The rectangle marquee tools here, they're rectangle, elliptical. If I wanted to click and drag this area and press Command C, it will copy that area. Okay. If I go to Command V and paste it, that image now goes into my collage as a separate layer. Layers are very important in Photoshop to organizing stuff. Okay. If I wanted to grab an area around, I'll use the lasso tool, and you just kind of click and drag an area you might want to have on your collage. Command C and then Command V. Now notice it brought it in as a shape. Okay. Now going back to Photoshop, these masking tools are pretty cool, but there are some other cool things you can do. Now let me press Command D, get rid of the mask. I'm going to use a feathering technique. Let's do 50 pixels. When I click and drag this, the feathering technique allows a kind of feathered edge around my mask. So I'm going to press Command C, bring it in, Command V, and you can see that it kind of ghosts the edges around the image. This is kind of cool to do if you want to blend multiple layers over top of each other. Okay. Now I'm not too sure if you're going to find this useful for your collage or not, but blending is pretty cool. Yes, you can. Another way of doing it after. So say this image here. And guys, by the way, I'm using my move tool. I have auto select and show transform controls on. It allows me to move. If I hover my mouse, I can rotate. If I hold shift and click and drag, it expands and makes it bigger. Okay. Press enter to accept that transformation and voila. How can I get the edges feathered? A few ways. Some students like using the eraser tool, getting a feathered brush. So this brush right here that kind of like has a faded edge. There's other types of brushes you can play around with. Say you want to stylize. And what that does, guys, the eraser tool will eat at pixels. So let's go back to this photograph. If I start getting the eraser tool, and you can also make the size bigger. So I'm just kind of eating out the edges. Now if I go back to my feather tool, I can fade the edges that way by erasing it. So just feathering the edges that way. Another way of feathering the edges after the fact is grabbing your layer, and watch this, and hope you're listening to the YouTube video for this one. Press Command and click your thumbnail. It does an automatic mask. You can then go to Selection and modify your mask. Wink, wink, there's one that says Feather. You can say how much you want to go into the photograph. 25 pixels is fine, or 50. It depends on the size of the image. And then press Erase. Oops, I erased me. So what I got to do now is press Select and inverse the selection. What that does is selects everything else but me. Then press Delete. And there was a slight fade. I don't know if you guys noticed that to the edge. In retrospect, 25 pixels wasn't sufficient. So I'll go back. I press Command click on the thumbnail. Select, modify the feather. I'll make this 75. Go to Select and inverse it, and then you can delete that way. Okay? So that's one way of doing it. Eraser tool. Probably eraser tool is easier because you can click and drag and do more work. I'm going to increase the brush size. You can eat away at pixels. Okay? So yeah, these are just some little tricks you can do. The last thing I'm going to end off with, guys, and if you need any help, let me know, is playing with your typography tool. On the website, guys, there is a font I want you to download. Well, you don't want you, but essentially it's good for this project. So if you go to the CPT, and if you go to stage 4, there's the font that you can install on your computer using Photoshop. When you're typing out all the information like producer, director, actors, use this font. Oh, okay. Yeah. 27. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it's called Stiltongs. So let me just go into the font library here. Stiltongs, there it is. Now this font's a little weird at first. Okay, guys, let me explain something to you. If I type the letter T, for example, and let me use a big font here. Oops. So I just typed the letter K. Let me back up a bit. So the letter K is actually the word directed by. Get my text tool. And if I press Shift K, it's actually the letter K. Yeah, to actually get the letters you want. No, 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 it's not. Because, let's go back to the website. Let me explain. Here's a gift library. You can see what, I'll download this, and you can see what each character. It's easier because typing out directed by, producer, music, actors' names and stuff, it's nicer to do it this way because you save your time and it has the same look that movie posters look for. Now, guys, there's different type of fonts you can use. I'm just giving you this tool to save you some time. Just letting you know on Photoshop how that works. So don't be freaked out. Yeah, because you want to make this the most realistic, right? So, no, 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 but look how it's done. It's on 2 lines. I just typed the letter G, director of photography, executive producer, and you put Almeida. I think that's easier, guys, to be honest. It is, trust me. So, uh, I'm not saying your movie title be that way. I'm just saying the lower end where you're putting all the credentials and all the credits for your movie poster. Do whatever. I had some people do some fun stuff. They name people in the classroom. They name their family members. They put their dog's name in there. Um, yeah, be creative. If you want to put the real actors' names, I have no problems with that. Just no profanity. And one person put your mom on there one time, and I don't know if it was offensive or not, but I told them to take it off because I don't think your mom is. It's funny. It was funny, like your mom. No, they actually typed in your mom. No, no, that's not cool. Yeah. Anyways, guys, there's the layers, and you pick and choose how you want to lay them up. Say my movie was called Drone Wars. Yeah, it's pretty weak, huh? Tahoma. I'm gonna call this one. Oops. Drone Wars, and that guys, my font. Yeah, it's funny. The font is that color. If I want to change it, click here. And by the way, guys, in Photoshop, when you move your mouse past the dialog box, you can grab any color on the screen. It's always built in. So there's my Drone Wars. I'm gonna grab this, hold Shift, and it's gonna be on top. You're feeling it, guys? That is pretty weak. I won't lie to you, but it has potential to do better. Okay. One last. Okay, I said this last thing, but I'll stop at this, guys. Layer styles. Double click here. You'll get this box that pops up. There's other ways to get it, but this is applying a layer style to my text. I'm going to do a drop shadow. By default, you should see something on the screen. If not, click on it. Maybe increase the distance, the spread, and the size. Do you guys see the drop shadow on my text? It's a nice little feature to make it stand out more. If you want to, you can play with other things like bevel and emboss. That makes it look like it's kind of shrink wrapped, and you can play with the direction up and down, how much of that depth you want. Gives it a little shadow and highlight to make it look 3D. Okay. You can go nuts. You want to do an inner glow. You can do inner glow. You can do a stroke around it. Sometimes you overdo it. It looks bad, but right. Here's a do it to the center. Actually, that's not too bad. Actually, surprisingly, Drone Wars. This is brutal, but whatever. This photo, say this image here, it's behind, but I want it above. You guys know you can just click and drag it onto the layer, and it'll be above. Okay. So hopefully this helps you or inspire you. I'll stop the video now. I'll talk about layer styles layer mask afterwards because that is more complicated. But you now know enough here to get your poster started. Is that cool?